Have you ever watched a show that is just unforgettable? Years after watching it, you still remember the details without needing to repeat it. The Good Place is one of those. With a unique premise, diverse cast, and genuinely clever writing, this sitcom will leave a lasting impression on you. Let's go deeper into why this sitcom is a cut above the rest. Hi everybody, welcome to Mind and More, where we talk about anything that comes to mind and more. Today, we're chatting about The Good Place. The Good Place is a sitcom that premiered in 2016 and ran for a total of 4 seasons. I'm trying to keep the summary as spoiler-free as possible, but basically, The Good Place is set in the afterlife. The place where good people go is called The Good Place, while the place the bad people go is known as The Bad Place. In a case of mistaken identity, one of the main characters, who by most definitions of the term wasn't a good person, finds themselves in the good place. So, this character has to try and keep the fact that they don't belong in the good place a secret, so that they don't get kicked out. This causes complications for them as well as for anyone who does find out, making the afterlife an unenjoyable experience. There are many twists in the plot and some surprising revelations, but in summary, that's what the show is about. So, what made it special? The first thing is the inclusion of ethics and moral philosophy. One of the characters, Chidi, had been an ethics and moral philosophy professor while he was still alive. So through Chidi, we got to learn more about moral philosophy. The show made complex concepts like Kantian ethics, contractualism, and utilitarianism so easy to understand, without ever feeling like a lecture. If you're a nerd, you'll find this aspect of the show incredibly exciting. And if you aren't one, you'll find yourself becoming one. This inclusion of ethics and moral philosophy makes you think about the complexities of distinguishing between good and bad, whether people can truly change, and how challenging it can be to be a good person depending on your circumstances. This in turn encourages empathy, and that leads me to my second point. The show had balance. There was a balance between intellectual stimulation and heart. The Good Place could get you thinking, but it would also have you feeling. The philosophy always served the story without overshadowing it. It also made you realize that these big questions of life are a part of everyday life, even though we may not often be conscious of it. Take Chidi, for example. He thought he tried to live a near-perfect life and his greatest sin was buying almond milk, even though he knew that the almond milk industry was not the most ethical. But it turned out his indecision and anxiety was what had the greatest negative impact on others. He had tried to get it right, but trying to get it right was exactly what had made him get it wrong. If you've ever experienced making a big mistake while trying to do something good, you know how bad that feels. If you look at Eleanor, she seemed like a despicably selfish person, but learning more about her backstory made you ask yourself whether she'd ever really had any other option but to be selfish. There was no black and white answers to the philosophical questions. Instead, the show invited you to consider them. The only thing that was clear was that there was room for improvement in everyone, which can challenge you to grow as the characters do. Speaking of growth, the third point is there was strong character growth and development. All the characters went through immense growth. Eleanor transformed from being selfish and cynical to putting the happiness of others before her own. Chidi learned how to manage and even overcome his indecision. Tahani went from seeking external validation to finding some self-worth. Jason had moments of showing perceptiveness and emotional depth, despite what you would initially think of him. And Michael went through the most dramatic change of all. If you've watched The Good Place, then you know what I mean. They also didn't just experience personal growth, but the relationships between them grew as well, which added to the heart of the show. Moreover, the writers also made sure that the characters were well developed, not just focusing on their stories in the afterlife, but also in the Earth backstories that led to them being where they were. Having adequate background made it easy to understand each character's perspective, giving the writers even more credit. Let's go into point number 4. The show was unapologetically ridiculous. Despite its meaningful messaging, the humor was never lost. It was still a comedy. The show wasn't afraid to be ridiculous. I think of things like the Jeremy Bearimy timeline, the description of Michael's retirement, bad Janet, or even just the concept of Janet herself. The concept of human suits, and the absolute ridiculousness of the entire Bad Place team. There's also funny additions like how you couldn't curse in The Good Place. Remember holy forking shirt balls? I could go on, but ultimately the point is the show had unique ways to make you laugh. Speaking of unique, as a side note, I think the idea that hell wasn't necessarily a place, but it was other people was a fascinating concept. Moving on. The final reason why The Good Place was special is that every move felt strategic. Each season had clear storylines, with each episode pushing the story further. There were minimal, if any, filler episodes. Furthermore, the show knew just when to end, deciding not to milk the story, but completing its run at the right time after 4 seasons. The ending wrapped up the story neatly and gave both the characters and the audience closure. Ultimately, this show pleasantly surprised me. I went into it thinking that it was just a comedy, and although it was pretty funny, I did more than just laugh. I also cried, pondered on deep philosophical topics, fell in love with the characters, thought about my own values and morals, and even explored the question of what gives life meaning. One of the things that the show discovers gives life meaning is the fact that it ends. Having limited time is what makes us want to make it worthwhile. This means if I keep talking forever, this video won't mean anything. So I'll end it here. Thank you for spending your time here.